Hi everybody, it's Hannah here, and today I'm going to be showing you through my sketchbook and going really in depth to the process of the different drawings. If you haven't seen my short video on this, where I just flip through the artwork, so I think it's about 10 minutes, that's the first link in the description below, because that is where I go through my artworks and just, show you. Whereas this video is more intended to give you kind of tips, like if you find one of these artworks really inspiring, or you're just really fascinated by it, then you can go and skip to whichever drawing that is on the, using the timestamps below, so it'll have little sections in the video. And that way you can just get kind of details on those specific drawings as opposed to just a brief overview of all of them. And that way I get to share my process a little bit more in depth and hear your thoughts in the comments on more specific aspects of it. So you're welcome to watch it, have it playing while you do some drawing and relax a bit, or just skip to the bits that you're most interested in. Let's get started. So the beginning, I did this title page actually at the end of my book. This was my final drawing, the one I did most recently. It was very fun. I got a pencil and I sketched some vague lines of where I wanted these things to go. I got a pencil and a ruler to do, I think I did about 1 centimeter from the edge on each half to do the border, and then just a couple of lines. I knew I wanted to the beginning, Hannah's Sketchbook Shadows exhibit, which is what I call my portfolio of art, and a banner, so I just got a pencil to sketch out that. And then with the specific details, I didn't sketch out all the details first, I just went straight in with a pen. I used the Uniball Gel Impact pen, which I would really recommend. The ink runs out quite quickly if you draw a lot, but I enjoyed the thick nib and it feels really smooth to draw with. So the link to that product is in the description below. I used a variety of shapes. So I went a lot with swirls. I wanted to follow the movement of the curves that I had drawn, that I had sketched in. And I chose to do lots of swirls. And basically with patterns like these, if you repeat the same pattern multiple times, it can just make the effect really beautiful. So it doesn't have to be overly complex. Like you can see over here, I've just done some very gentle curves and it's not super complex, but you still have this cool effect when you repeat things. With the flowers, I drew the petals first and then I did the 3 lines in each petal second. With the dots, it's cool, the circles I mean, it's cool to have bigger ones moving to smaller ones because it gives that sense of expanding and kind of that sense of movement and growing. Over here you have another repeated pattern. It's often just repeating the same thing multiple times and it's really meditative. It's a really relaxing process. I'll probably do another video going through some of these patterns and how I came up with them. It was fun too. The reason I did this at the end is because I wanted to add the dates in, and also I just wanted to I don't really do the sketchbooks in order. I do it more bits along the way. And on this page, I did the movement, the motion of it going on a diagonal, which I think is a really fun flow. And I started, as opposed to going straight in with all the finer details, I started with the kind of border shapes. So some common things I do for that. This is a different pen than the one I used to draw this. This is just what's on hand. It's the 0.8 thickness, so one of the thicker ones of the Pigma Microns. I'll put the link to that in the description as well. So some shapes I do. You can do kind of like a triangle except with curves. Then you can start going off a point of that triangle. And do another curve going around there. You can see this pen's running out of ink a bit. These are the kind of shapes I choose to do on drawings like these, where you start with one swirl and then you keep building off of that. One way to build off of it is to do these movements where it's like little arcs going off a swirl. So if you want, you can copy these exact shapes that I've done, and it's not going to look 100% the same, but that's one of the beautiful things about abstract art. It doesn't need to look 100% the same. So I worked a lot with these kind of movements, these kind of shapes. So in more proportion in this drawing, it's more similar to like this kind of scale. And if you make a mistake, like say I did that and I was like, oh, I didn't want that to happen, you can change it into something different by adding it into the details within the artwork. So I started with these border shapes and then I went in to fill them with interesting patterns as I went along. So I did the whole map of all the board shapes, and then I went in and added in the specific patterns. So maybe in this one I'll do dots like I did over here, over here, over here. That kind of thing. Or you can do little archways like I did over there. If you want to do something like this, you can look throughout this, pick the patterns you want to try, start drawing some outlines like these at whatever scale you want, and then fill them in with individual patterns. I don't really see it as copying someone's art because it's going to look unique to you. Like, you can try copy this line for line, but unless you're, I mean, I wouldn't be able to completely duplicate something. You're going to naturally make it your own with your own swirls. As long as you're not saying that the artwork was done by me, or saying that you did this one, it's okay. I think it's okay to take inspiration from other people's artworks, but obviously don't try and take credit for their artworks. Don't say that this was one that you did. It's not cool when people do that. Over here with cheers, I decided to add in a lot of sweet things. So I had a theme of kind of like a bit of alcohol, like that's a wine bottle. And cheers is going on, so it's kind of the idea of like having a fun time, having a get together with friends, sharing some nice food, and I have a bit of a sweet tooth, so I enjoy indulging in things. So over here I have a lollipop in there, I have some lips because of someone eating sweet things, and I have some strawberries dipped in chocolate, melted chocolate. So in these ones, you can pick a theme, pick a few objects that you want to incorporate. And what I did is I did a pencil sketch in this one as well. I don't always do a pencil sketch first, an outline, but in this one I did. You can do those objects going in first and then add the abstract shapes around it. Then on a smaller scale, you can add more objects, like I have more bottles here, I have a cocktail, I have some hats, and you can go with the flow there. I think it's a really fun technique to pick a bottle or a box or like a genie lamp or something where the flowing abstract art comes out of it. I think that's a really fun idea of what to draw. This was the first artwork that I did in this book. Over here, I went with something a bit different. You can see in the past ones it was more organic lines, but here I just did lots of straight lines. And for this one, I used a ruler, and you can just do, this one's broken, I snapped it the other day. I used a pencil and just drew some kind of jagged lines, do some harsh edges, and then similar to the last one, I did the bigger shapes first, and then I went back in and did mostly straight lines. Obviously, so I didn't use a ruler for all of these, so obviously they're not perfectly straight the whole time. But that's okay, it can still look good. And I mostly did the straight line shapes, but here you can see I also did some triangles. Over here, I did a mandala. So for mandalas, you often, I choose a point where I want to start. And in this one, I just wanted to make it the middle of the page lengthways. So I measured the page with a ruler, picked the halfway point and started there. Then what I do is I draw a straight line going there to there, just in pencil, and a straight line going there to there, because then you have a guide. And then, amazing tool if you want to do mandalas is this circle thing. I can't remember where I bought this from. I'll see if I can find it and put the link in the description too. Staedtler, yeah, it's that brand. I'll put the link in the description if I find it, but it's got lots of different size circles, which is super useful for doing things like this. And I started in the middle and moved out. And then when you want to do a square or something like that, on the straight line I measured before, I pick a certain number of centimeters from the middle point, and it looks like I did 6 centimeters here, and 6 centimeters from here, then 6 and 6, and then just connected those dots to make a square. And you can keep expanding, adding more triangles and just trying to make it even. Then with the designs so once I've done that big sketch, the big outline, I worked on the individual designs. Once again, I did lots of patterns, lots of small intricate patterns, and lots of the same repeated shape, because repetition can be a really beautiful thing for creating lovely abstract designs. This one may be one of my favorite drawings because I love purple. Purple's my favorite color, and I think that the metallic paint contrasted the purple really well. And I was thinking, since purple and yellow are opposite sides of the color wheel, they might complement each other. For this artwork, I used the lilac Copic marker and the mallow. I'll have the links to these in the description. The violet, the blue violet, and then I used the dog rose flower. That pink I used over a different color. I think it might have been mallow, but it also could have been lilac, so I'm not 100% sure, but you can experiment with those. And then I used the Uniball Gel Impact for the black lines. And then for the gold, I used the Gansai Tambi Starry colors, the 6 set. It's a water-based pigment, and I used the yellow gold in this one. For this artwork, I did a similar movement of the overall composition going that way. For this one, I didn't do a pencil outline first. I just started in the middle. I'm trying to remember. Yeah, I think I might have started with this section over here in the middle, and I built on from there. If I remember right, I did a lot of the more intricate patterns as I went along, whereas in other artworks I do the kind of big main shapes and then the intricate patterns, but in this one I did the intricate patterns as I went along, then the main shapes, and then went back into the intricate patterns more. So you can see I've got just blocks of lines there, and then thin lines, dots, and bigger dots. What are some other patterns you can use? Kind of teardrop shape things, and those little guys. Yeah, lots of things that emphasize the movement of the lines as well. So these smaller lines that add to the bigger overall shape. And then for this next one, I wanted to do a kind of like Greek or Roman column vibe, and then my own abstract shapes going around. So I got a ruler and a pencil, measured halfway, and then drew a column. And then I sketched out, so I drew that in pencil. So I did that, and then I actually did do pencil for just the overall blocks of shapes. but I don't think I did pencil for like these individual, no, I wouldn't have done. I just went straight in with pen there. And if you have a close look, you can see what patterns I used and give it a go copying some of those to see if that works for you. It was lots of fun to do this one. And then for this one, I really wanted to kind of show what a migraine can feel like in an artistic form, where a lot of your body, migraines differ from normal headaches in that sometimes all kind of parts of your body can be in pain, like you might have neck pain, a tingling feeling in your shoulders. It's a really kind of complicated experience for lots of people, and nausea, lots of things. So I just thought about like how to represent that in an artsy way. So I wanted to do lots of like stabbing pain and show knives and things like that. And the dots to me are more of like a tingly sensation. And I chose red because after the end I started it in black and white, and then I thought I want to add some color, some contrast, and I don't know why I chose red. So I did this once again with the Gel Impact pen, which I also used for this one. And then for the red, I used cadmium red, which is another Copic marker. Link to that is in the description below. Now these two pages, I think I did this one first and I came back later and did this one. It depends. I think if you want to do a drawing like this, brainstorm some objects. You can make it up as you go along, or you can go and consciously brainstorm some objects. I like adding faces. I think it's fun. That's actually my favorite face, I think, that I've drawn in one of these. And you can brainstorm some objects that you would want to add into these artworks. So maybe it's animals, maybe it's bottles, maybe it's diamonds, maybe it's glasses, maybe it's what you use every day, or it could have a theme. Maybe you'll add a theme of romance, or you can add a theme of nature or the wilderness, or an activity you do like music, or you can do a combination of lots of things that are important to you. And then in addition to those objects, you can add some abstract shapes. So have a close look at some of these abstract shapes and you can copy along. So with these abstract shapes, even if you try and copy them, they're going to look individual to you, because that's one of the beautiful parts of abstract art. Now for both of these pages, I decided to add in the little motif of a skull. So I did this one first. In this book, I actually did everything on the right side page first and then came back and did the left hand page. And yeah, I kept the skull theme going. So here, as opposed to kind of grays and dark colors and often like black and red that people often do in art for skulls, I wanted to make it kind of more like add some pastel colors. So I added these pastel colors and I decided I wanted to make the skull shiny. It was a lot of fun. First off, I sketched with pencil, found a reference from the internet for a skull. Then I sketched in pencil and I just sketched the outline of these abstract shapes. I didn't sketch the individual shapes. I just made those up as I went along. But I sketched the overall outline and then I thought about what colors I would use. So I once again used the Uniball Gel Impact pen for the black lines. And then for the colors in the pastel, I did light pink, cool shadow, pale lavender. So I used those three for the abstract colors. And then for the pink outline all around, I did the brighter color, which is Dog Rose Flower. Then, after I did the Copic markers and colored it in, I went in with Champagne Gold from my Gansai Tambi Starry Colors set that my grandma gave me as a gift. And the links to all of those will be in the description below. Then in this artwork over here, I did a skull that's breathing out lots of spooky things. It was so much fun. I love how this little dragon thing came out. I think that's my favorite part of this artwork, because look at that face. Oh, I'm so happy with that, with how that turned out. I also like this cyborg person who has like one human arm kind of sewed on, but then a robotic arm, and has a little fun hat, which is good, kind of patched together, but also got some mechanics in there. And then I had some little demons in there. That one's a smiling demon. What else did I add? Poison, kind of like the opposite of a love potion, like hatred, and then a wicked witch. Basically, I just decided to brainstorm a bunch of spooky things, give it a crack at drawing them. I also wanted to do these little things emerging from my abstract shapes and then turning into kind of like ghosts. So my process here was sketch with pencil, and I didn't sketch the specific lines in the abstract shapes. I just sketched the kind of overall vibe, and I did sketch out these the characters that I put in. So I sketched out the witch and the little monster. I think there were a few that I didn't sketch. No, I think I sketched most of them. And then I added the abstract shapes later. I'm so happy with how this turned out. And I also added in some kind of creepy phrases. So let us free, when the ghosts are feeling trapped by the abstract shapes, and then come and play with the kind of creepy doll going on there. So these two pages, I did this one first because, like I said before, I did the right hand side first before coming back and doing the left hand side. And I thought this one to me feels a little bit different because, as opposed to having kind of, how do I explain it? As opposed to having lots of long, thin, abstract shapes and then patterns within, I did them a bit wider than I normally would. So on this, I had kind of that, like this overall one with the straight lines in it. That's a bit wider than I would often do with other abstract shapes. Abstract drawing. So to me it feels a bit different than my usual style. I know it may look kind of similar, but it's a bit different than what I've been doing recently. And then I didn't use a pencil to sketch this one out, I don't think. Oh, actually, there's some pencil lines. I did. Turns out I did. I don't remember doing that. I'm gonna get a rubber and rub that out. Alright, and once again I used the Uniball Gel Impact, but it looks like, I think this was a point where it ran out, so I started with it and then I went back to using a different pen, a Pigma Micron 08, I think. I've just been really enjoying using this pen. It runs out quickly, it's got very thick lines. It's a shame it runs out quickly, but that's also because I do a lot of intricate drawing, but I'm really enjoying it. And I would recommend buying the refills, not just a whole new pen each time, because that will add up and be way more expensive. So you can just undo it and chuck in the pen refills. Not like you don't get the individual ink and put that in, it's more just the like the long bit. Awesome. And then when I came back and did this drawing, I wanted to keep it with a kind of similar theme where I have the wider shapes as opposed to skinny, long, narrow ones. And I wanted to do a circle with blobs coming out. So if you've ever been indoor rock climbing, you may recognize like that kind of, they've got the footholds and the handholds have different shapes. And those are a little bit of inspiration for these outlined blobs here. So to me, it reminds me of rock climbing a little bit, which is good fun. And then I picked different shapes within those to fill them in. So I guess what's good about this one, if you're working on doing more abstract drawing, is you can look at this one and look in these individual blobs, because those kind of isolate the different types of shapes. And then you can use these individual patterns for different parts of inspiration. And then when you go and put a bunch of different shapes into an abstract drawing, you can incorporate these patterns as well. Let me know how that goes. So for this artwork, it was inspired by the Inktober prompt Extinct. So it was kind of, I had the idea of doing a world where humans weren't extinct because of what we've done to the planet. On the left-hand side, I did a tree with a koala and an owl and some wind blowing some nice flowers and some butterflies and leaves, of course, and big, strong roots underneath grass for the tree, and then even a little flower in that person's hair. And then on the right-hand side, I wanted to do the opposite, which is where, because of climate change and pollution, natural disasters, including bushfires, are becoming more common. So, and will continue to do so with the effects of climate change and global warming. So on this side, I wanted to do fire, and that was fun to do it in a kind of abstract, a stylized way, where I incorporate lots of lines, and then smoke coming up from above. Then it's kind of hard to see, but I did a little tree, like a stump, that's it, a stump just there at the bottom, as opposed to the nice grass and like dry earth. And then underneath, I also did a little skull. So the skeleton in the middle represents humans becoming extinct, and I used a reference for the skeleton off the internet. Someone told me it's not quite anatomically correct, so I will have a look at that next time. Not that it particularly matters to me, but yeah, could be good to have a look at. And then I did thin lines with a thinner pen, as well as the Uniball Gel Impact to fill that in. And I also used a pencil to sketch this outline as well. Okay, so this page was a kind of recreation of a drawing I did back in 2016. So I tried to find the original copy of the drawing to show you side by side, but I just looked through one of my huge folders from all the art I've done dating back to maybe year 6 or 7. So I couldn't actually find that for you. That would have been 2013 for reference, and I couldn't find it in there. I'm sure I could if I looked harder, but I'll throw up a photo so that you can see the comparison. I just really liked the shape of that artwork overall. I thought it was a really nice, satisfying flow, and I wanted to recreate it. So this one I used a Pigma Micron, probably that looks like about a thickness size 3. I think I used a 3, a 1, and an 8, and a 5. And then for these thick lines around the edge, I used a Copic marker, and it was either Special Black, and then I also have the regular black. Not sure where it is right now. So I used a thick one. You could probably use a Sharpie and lots of other things for the very thick lines. So I'd recommend go back and find an artwork from when you were a lot younger or a few years ago and try recreate it. I would love to see what you create, so use the hashtag #ShareWithShadows on Instagram and tag me. That's all in the description below if you want me to see your art. But very cool to recreate old drawings. On the left-hand side, this was inspired by the Inktober prompts. So this year, I didn't do all of the Inktober prompts. I kind of did want to make Inktober for me more like using it as inspiration when I was able to. And if it was just too hard to do, then I wouldn't do all the prompts because I wanted it to be about enjoyment. Here I combined prompt Slither as well as Pick. So Slither, obviously, I've got the snake slithering side to side, and that was lots of fun. And then I wanted to do like picking between two options. So to do things that are more selfish versus picking to do things that help others thrive and help yourself thrive as well. So here on this side, I chose a lot of objects, like things that represented money a lot and kind of greed, and got a little devil in there. Yeah, money signs and pollution. And I'm not by any means like saying that all money is bad and like consumerism, all of that is bad. I'm just saying that, you know, if you take things to a certain extent and it goes too far, then it's not healthy for yourself and it's not healthy for other people. So I guess I wanted to kind of make it that you can pick between two things. I really like this stare off I did. Like, I think this was kind of the coolest part of the artwork, even though it's just a tiny little bit, of someone staring into the mirror of somebody else. And this person has money on their mind all the time, and that person has love on their mind. Of course, money can be a force for good, and people have bills to pay, but it's just kind of more like taking things to the extreme. And then on this side, I had a lot of fun drawing some flowers. I feel like I don't draw flowers that often, but I'm kind of getting more into it. So I love these ones, and I decided to make those all of the same color, just to kind of keep the theme going throughout. And those flowers were also fun. The tree was fun. I just have lots of kind of nature moments in there, people holding hands and leaves and a mountain kind of like growing. And then I did a light bulb as well for kind of good ideas, fresh ideas, and yeah, smiling people, lots of good vibes. So what I did, the process wise, I came up with that idea based on the prompts, and then I wanted to make a movement where I've got the big snake in the middle and then the overall blob shape kind of following the snake, but not being as slithery. Then I sketched that with pencil. I think I sketched out like most of this one, if I remember right, with pencil. And then I used my trusty Uniball Gel Impact pen to draw the rest of it. These ones, I draw the triangles first, and then I start with the little circle and then go out, and then I just traced kind of the shape. And then over here, these can be some good shapes that you can use on borders, so pick out which ones of these you like, and you can use them going around the frame of something. Like if you do typography and pretty words, you can do it on the frame, or you can just use it throughout your artworks. Lots of fun borders. The crystal theme I really like how these crystal shapes work, and if you have the different colors, it looks like the light's reflecting off in cool ways. In this one, it especially looks cool with the oranges and reds, I think. Then swirls, I start in the middle and then go all the way out, and then I build off that swirl and start another one. Like I start another swirl and then just stop when it hits. I was using the Pigma Micron size 8, which has been like a trusty pen for like ever since I started drawing and I got my hands on some. I love Pigma Microns. But like since I found this pen, I've just been really enjoying using the thick lines and the smoothness of it. Then here you start with one ribbon and then you draw another ribbon going behind it, and then you just keep on drawing. And then once you've drawn all those lines, all those ribbons going through, you can just use the remaining kind of gaps and then do a line that goes within. So that's a good tip for copying that. This one, okay, so this is like one of my all-time favorite shapes. My sister, when she was in uni, and in high school actually as well, she would draw when listening to lectures, and she isn't as into art as me. I don't think she draws anymore, but some of her abstract artworks were just so beautiful. When I was younger and I saw these, I decided, I was like, okay, she was like, Hannah, you should use some of these as inspiration for your artworks because you're getting so into drawing. So then I did, and I saw she had this kind of theme going on, not quite the same. She had more kind of squiggly lines going out of there, but I saw that and I wanted to copy it. So for these, I start with the circle, the semicircles coming out, and then I do long line, short line, long line, short line, long, short, and then dot, 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 dot. And I try and do them as evenly as possible, because then I draw circles just above the short lines, and then the kind of, I don't know what you call it, I feel like there's a name. These arcs, I do them in line with the long lines going over the circles. So would recommend, I usually just start in the middle and then move my way out. Then create some more, and they can tuck behind or in front of the other ones. Over here, these are some swirls that I typically do. In most of my drawings, you'll notice this kind of pattern happening a lot. And then here I just decided to pick some objects, pick some themes. Got a question mark, got a dollar sign, got a music note, got a bottle, got a cat, got a flower, like various things, a little ghost, and I just decided to put them into my artwork. Then here I've got the crystals again. So just draw a triangle or draw a quadrilateral, irregular ones, or just a diamond shape, and then work from there, draw more triangles going off from there, and watch it slowly expand. And then over here I did some cute little monsters and a stingray. So I think drawing monsters is super fun, and it's so good to incorporate into your artworks because they're just so sweet. Like if you do mini monsters, or just made up shapes, animals, then it can be super fun. What do we have here? Oh, risk. Okay, so there was in Inktober this year, one of the prompts was risk. So I decided to do one of these drawings where I incorporate a bunch of kind of risks going in. So I've got dollar signs referring to gambling. And so I also, oh yeah, and the day 2 prompt of Inktober this year was suit. So instead of doing a suit that you wear, I chose to do card suits. So I've got hearts, diamonds, spades, and clubs incorporated all throughout this. And that's where I got the black, white, and red theme from, because cards are typically red and black suits. So I had those suits incorporated because I wanted to reference gambling, which is one of the biggest risks. Well, not one of the biggest, like clearly more physically dangerous things, but it can really destroy a lot of lives. So I just thought that would be a cool combination of 2 prompts. And then I added in some other risks. So that's gambling again, drinking too much, and then like speeding on a motorbike. And then would you like to have dinner with me? That's a more like, I feel like that's a risk more worth taking, is asking somebody out on a date. It feels, scary because you don't want them to say no, but that to me is a risk far more worth taking than some of the other ones. And then I just brainstormed some things that are examples of risks that we use in everyday life and incorporated them in here. So you can have a look. Oh yeah, and also I did a bear because I kind of thought about, like, I don't think we really have big scary bears like that in Australia. We might, correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought about like going into the woods or going outside and coming into contact with dangerous animals. I have a little monster in there. And I also, I realized this is the one where I incorporated the prompt watch as well. So I did watches like these, and then I also did wrist watches, like that kind of thing. And then I did people watching various things. So that person is watching, that monster's watching, and that person's watching as well. So I just wanted to do the double meaning of that word there. I think that using kind of limited color, but choosing one, like doing black and white and then picking one other color, can be really fun for emphasis. I used this Uniball Gel Impact pen, and then the cadmium red Copic marker. On this side, I am super happy with how I did kind of a rectangular frame for this one, and also how I did this kind of organic like blob, like all the shapes just there, because I think both of these have a really different effect but are both like super cool. I haven't really done this style of drawing before this year, so it's really fun to do and I'm just having the best time with it. So for this one, I like the movie Seven. It was so good, it was brilliant. Would only recommend if you're old enough, and if it's kind of like a thriller, what else? A thriller kind of crime mystery one, if I remember right, and I really enjoyed it. So I did this one based off the 7 deadly sins. So I started with I looked up the order on my phone on the internet and then went through the different sins and then like did those. So I just thought, inspired by the movie, it was a kind of cool concept of like what shapes I could incorporate there. So I've got some symbols in there like laziness, I've got like a bed, and yeah, things like that. So that was a lot of fun, and I'm just so happy with the border. I think it looks really crisp, looks really fun, and I look forward to doing some more with rectangular borders again. This was also the Uniball Gel Impact. I just took a ruler, looks like I did 3 centimeters from the edge, did approximately, drew some lines and then used them as a guide. And then I don't think for this one I drew in pencil. I think I just freehanded it based on some of the shapes. I think I freehanded it because it looks like I would have done a bit neater if I had a pencil reference, but that's okay. It was fun. I often enjoy just going straight in with pen. Yeah, that's this artwork. Next up, okay, these are like this is maybe one of my favorite spreads in the book. I love the colors. So this I did on earlier this year. I bought a Remarkable 2 tablet, which is super good for my uni notes. It's like a tablet which feels a lot like paper, and you just can write all your notes down. And it's less expensive than some more complicated tablets. Yeah, so that's what I did my Inktober videos on. So if you know me from the Inktober videos, I screen shared that from my Remarkable. So I did the drawing. They have a template with hexagons, so I could use that template with hexagons to do shapes which kind of added to the hexagon, which were based on the hexagonal guide. So I did some lines that followed the hexagon guide and then some that didn't. So, you know, those 2 lines do, but then over here that is more organic, and I wanted to give it like a honey theme. So I did swirly lines, abstract lines, lots of fun. And then I did that, saved it as a PDF or an image or something, and then I printed that out. Also for drawing, you can probably just find a if you have a printer, you can just, or do it on a screen of something, you can look up like hexagonal grid and then print that out and maybe draw directly on there, or get like a thin piece of paper and do it underneath. If you have a light box or something fancy, that would also work well. So I did that, I printed it out, and then I went in with my colors. I used my Copic markers once again, golden yellow and chrome orange. So those were the 2 colors I used there, the non-metallic ones. And then with my Gansai Tambi Starry colors, I really don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but with these guys, I chose, which ones did I do? Okay, yellow gold and then red gold are those ones, and I did the red gold up here, and then the yellow gold on the border, and then red gold as it got darker. So as it drips down there, I did a bit more red gold. So that was yellow gold and red gold. And then this is white gold that I added in there. So these silvery bits are white gold. So those are the supplies I used for that. And then I liked it a lot, so I stuck it in my book with a glue stick. On this side, her name is Maya, and she's Maya the meteorologist. I just thought it would be a fun idea. So some meteorologist is someone who looks at weather patterns and forecasting and all that, and the science behind it. So I thought, okay, if you're a fairy, right, you've got to figure out where you're going to fly. And if you're if you're a fairy, you can do more than birds, because you can like study the science behind weather patterns. So I decided to make this fairy a meteorologist. So that's just kind of like the background story. Can't show that in the artwork, but I just thought that would be a fun background story. And I used a pencil to sketch out the shapes. And I decided, because I didn't want to deal with drawing arms or hands, I would just tuck her hands behind like some abstract shapes as well, because I wanted to kind of do it like the abstract shapes are like intermingled. Maybe the abstract shapes are like wind or something, or just abstract, because that's my vibe, that's my thing. And then I thought I drew it all in black and white. So I sketched with a pencil. I used the Uniball Gel Impact to do the black and white pen drawing. And then I went in with some Copic markers. Let me show you the colours. So I used these colours if you are interested in looking into them. So we've got chrome orange, golden yellow, cardamom orange, Chinese orange, light pink for the wings, sepia for the skin, and burnt umber for the hair. And then cadmium red as well in the abstract shapes. So lots of fun. I'm really happy with how this turned out. I don't think I've drawn many fairies, and it was just a bunch of fun. All right, next up we have these crystally themes. I did this one first, and I had so much fun. I think it looks so good. It's like a crystal heart. I'm sure there's some metaphor in there about heartbreak or something, but I just thought it would look really cool. And I want to think of some more shapes in the future that I could do, where I could incorporate the crystals into it, because I think these turned out really good. For this, I used just the Uniball Gel Impact, and same as this, and I will show you the colours I used. Over on this side, I used a bunch of colours. So what I did is I started with one. So say I started with the dark blue. I drew dark blue bits all throughout, just kind of scattering them around. And then I chose the next colour. So say then I chose the green, and I did next to the blue, I would do a green. So it doesn't need to be directly next to, but just kind of near. So that way you do one green for every blue. So you get it kind of happening, and that way you get a kind of cool spread of the colours. Like you don't have a bunch of blue ones over here and no blue ones over here, because you've kind of spread it all out. And then over on this side, I did Chinese orange, chrome orange, cardamom orange, and then golden yellow. And then I chose dog rose flower for the little bits of pink which I had throughout, and I didn't do as much pink as the other ones, but I thought it was just fun to kind of add a little bit of flavor in there with the pink. So these are a lot of fun. Oh, also I sign all of my artworks, so I just enjoy signing them. That's my signature. That's just the HP, but sometimes I do the longer one, H Powell. When I was a kid, I came up with a signature because I wanted to be all like grown up and fancy. So if you get bored, you could do that, or you can just sign it with your name, or something like that. So my friend asked me yesterday if she thinks it's like about why I sometimes do that and why I sometimes do the full one. I just said it depends on how it would look on the artwork and what my hand kind of autopilots to do as well. Alrighties, this one was inspired by an Inktober prompt, which was sour, and then I also chose spirit. So spirit is both ghosts and the alcohol, like gin and whiskey and all that. So I did some bottles and some cocktails, and then I did lemons for sour, and then I also did the ghost spirits, which are tons of fun. I really enjoyed that. And then I did S's on the bottles just because of like shadows exhibit and spirit and sour. There's just a lot of S's going on. And then I chose to do black, white and yellow. I guess for this, my advice would be pick a theme. Maybe it's a prompt like from Inktober, or just something that you want to do a drawing about, and then pick some objects that suit that theme and then put them into a drawing, and then do some abstract shapes going around. For this one, I think I used a pencil to sketch out the base for this one, and then went over the top in pen. It was an art line pen, a felt tip pen. If I remember which one it was, then I'll put that in the description below. This one over here was so fun, so bright. I love the colors. I loved the kind of full-on vibe that I had going on. I used my Uniball Gel Impact. I didn't sketch with a pencil or anything first. I think I just started drawing, and I did the lines. So if I do one with color in it, then I'll do it like the lines further apart than if I do, well, this also has color in it, but if I do one that's this style or the purple style from earlier, I'll do the lines thicker apart than I will for this, because I'm going to fill it in with a bunch of different colors as opposed to having it more kind of shaded with the pen. Cool. And then over here, this artwork was inspired by the prompt fan for Inktober, and I sketched it with a pencil first because I'm adding so many objects, and I just thought, oh, okay, I've got the fan theme, right? So then I thought about like a music fan, and I just decided to go the route of like a fan who's really into something as opposed to like a cooling fan. So I said, if it's a music fan, okay, I'll add in a guitar. So I added a guitar, added some music notes, I added like some outfits of what someone might wear to a concert. I added a microphone for singing. Oh yeah, and then I also thought about how, like, if you're a fan of someone, often you want to buy their products if they're like sponsored by something. So then I added some shopping bags throughout, and like fashion things, so consumerism, so I have a little money. I added a wedding ring in there because some really devoted fans are like, I want you to marry me, and that kind of thing. And then love heart eyes and a face in the middle. So I used a pencil to sketch this out first, and then I went in with the Uniball Gel Impact, but then it looks like I used I used the art line pen to do some of the finer lines, like that ring and the kind of inner screen on that. Oh, and then these lines, so I accidentally smudged the ink a lot. You'll see a few smudges through this book. And then when I smudged the ink, because I was rubbing out the pencil lines before it was fully dry. So then I made some smudges, and I thought, oh, okay, cool. I'll just add some lines that are like going in that direction, and I really like how it turned out. I think it's lots of fun. Cool, so another abstract diamondy shape. I used Copic markers, so I think this one is another one where I didn't use pencil. I just went straight in with my Uniball Gel Impact black pen, did my abstract shapes, went with the flow, and then I got out my Copic markers and filled in the gaps. I felt like colouring something in, so I used coloured pencils, Prismacolors, on top of the Copic markers. And what's cool about that is that the Copic markers give the really vibrant undertone, and then that way the coloured pencils are super strong without needing to do like 10 layers. Once again, signed my artwork, and I'll show you the colours I used. So the colours I used in terms of the Copic markers are blue, violet, blueberry, lilac, and mallow. And the lilac one is the brightest color. So when you see the bright colors, that's the lilac. What do we have next? This one, so there was the Inktober prompt of Stuck, and I saw that prompt when I was in lockdown in Sydney. We were locked down for a while this year when there was a Delta outbreak. So COVID, obviously, we're all kind of sick of hearing about it, but it is a huge part of our lives now. So I decided to do a drawing on that. So it's very COVID themed. I've got the little Netflix symbol in there. I've got people feeling sick and coughing, and 1.5 meters apart, stay safe, kind of an ambulance sign, and crossed out aeroplane because we weren't doing international travel, and then little virus kind of shapes, hand sanitizer, question marks, because like no one knows what's gonna happen moving forward, and I guess we can never really predict it. Hey, and then I did money into question mark because a lot of people have like lost their jobs, and luckily we have some government support there, but it's a very, very stressful time for a lot of people. Cool. So for this one, I am so happy with how it turned out because I like love the transition with the green to the purple, and I want to do something like this again because it's just so satisfying. See the colors move over. So I did green on this side, purple on this side, a bit of blue in the middle, but mostly just kind of transitioning. And for the green side, I used these colors: mint green, dark blue, Nile blue, teal blue, aqua, malachite, and did I say Nile blue? We'll find out. I've got those in the description as always, and those are my Copic markers. And then for the other side, I've got violet, mallow, blueberry, blue, violet, lilac, and the blue in the middle, the dark blue, is ultramarine. Once again, I used the Uniball Gel Impact. This one was lots of fun. I did swirls, and I just started in the middle using my Uniball Gel Impact and did swirls going round, creeping their way up, and just lots of swirls and shapes going like that. It's very therapeutic, it's very meditative, and I would recommend just trying to draw some swirls, and you'll naturally get more coordination with your hands with your drawing if you practice. And this is a cool one because it'll look super cool even if you don't do it really neatly. And then I did my signature a bit more swirly than I normally would, which was fun. Okay, so over here I have two mandalas that come together with abstract shapes in the middle. So for this one and this one, I just got a ruler and picked a couple of random points, and then I did a straight line and pencil there, straight line and pencil there. Then I got a protractor, so you know those things you use or used in high school for maths class, and I measured 45 degrees there, and drew another line, drew another 45-degree line there, and that way it makes a grid that divides it into eights. Over here I think I did something similar, or 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. No, so for here I think I just did quarters and then did 3 petals for each thing, because you can see it's maybe, I don't know, it depends. I'm not 100% sure what I did. Yeah, okay, I did quarters there. So you pick that template, and then I would recommend, if you want to do mandalas, see if you can get your hands on to one of these, because they are so good. They are so good for drawing mandalas. It makes it so much easier to do a circle. So I just start with a small circle in the middle, use pencil for that, and then work your way up to the bigger circles as a guide using your pencil. And then when you want to come over in pen, you can do that. And then if you want to have more ideas of patterns to use in your mandalas, then obviously have a look at these ones. like the flower petal kind of shape, and then I've got some organic wavy fiery things happening in those petals. But you can also look on Instagram. If you type in hashtag Mandala patterns, you'll see short tutorials of that. And then you can also look on YouTube because I'm sure there are many more in-depth videos explaining mandala drawing. I also, oh yeah, and I'll just briefly touch on, like, for these shapes, I use my guides. So for this triangle thing that comes out in this triangle, I pick like how many centimeters I want to do from the center point. So say I pick 4 centimeters, then I go 1, 2, 3, 4, and I draw a point there, and then I do that for all of the things on the 45 degree, on the 90 degree lines, and then that way you can make it even and just connect that to the intersection of that circle and the 45 degree line, for example. So if you just use a bit of really basic maths, it helps make things a lot easier. Or you can do it more organic and just totally ditch that and just freehand it, or do it with the kind of circles going out but not completely even. That's also totally fine. You do you. And then after I did those, the more structured parts, I wanted to connect the two with just abstract flowing lines. So obviously this bit in the middle is less mandala-ish and more just connecting the two. I love this spread. I love the orange and yellow on this side and the yellow on this side. So much fun to see the two things kind of like coming together. This is a really kind of straightforward, easy pattern to go for, because you just draw the big shape with a swirl in it and then draw lots of little lines that connect, that kind of like are reasonably parallel to each other and work with the swirl of the line. And then you just keep repeating that more and more. And then over here, I picked out yellow and I drew kind of like swirls and stuff with the yellow, and then it left really faint lines of like where the swirls were drawn with the yellow, even though it was all the same color marker. And then I could use those swirls as inspiration for when I went over that in pen. So I did the yellow first, and then I don't normally do this, so it was lots of fun. And then I went over the top with my Uniball Gel Impact and kind of used those swirls as a guide, as a reference guide. And then the patterns I added in here were circle swirls and kind of wavy shapes over here, long, short, long, short, long, short lines with dots at the top. That pattern I talked about earlier in my kind of like stained glass layout, the one with the lots of colors. The drawing earlier where I had boxes with lots of colors in them and different patterns. So that shape and triangles, yeah, some more things like that. Have a close look if you want to get inspiration for any of those shapes. And I think if you have a sketchbook that you're going for, a really fun idea is to see how the two pages can interact. So here they kind of mirror each other, like you fold it in half. You know when you're a kid and you get paint and you fold a page in half and it makes like a butterfly? That's the kind of thing I wanted to have happen, in that this mirrors this slightly. So it's obviously different, but got the same kind of vibe happening. And then I had some nice little objects in there, some music notes, there's a person with an eye patch, which I did for the first time, which is lots of fun, some little people, and I think for this one I just freehanded it, so I didn't do pencil. I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I just went straight in with my pen, and that was lots of fun. I've got various things in there, swimmers, music notes, I've got a paintbrush, I've got splats, kind of like blobs of things, so that's a blob, got some more blobs, raindrops, yeah, lots of fun things, and an umbrella. And then I went in afterwards with abstract shapes. Not afterwards, like as I go along. So I do like a couple of objects or just one object, and then next to it I do an abstract shape, and I just kind of build as I go, starting at one point and building my way out to add more. So once again, pick some objects or some faces that you like to draw and think about how you can incorporate them into this artwork. I think this one was also inspired by Inktober prompts, so Splat and then Leak, I think, is what inspired the raindrops. Oh, this one, okay. With this one, I didn't know how it was going to turn out. I was honestly like skeptical. I wasn't sure, but I used a lead pencil to do the vague outline, and then I filled that in with this, and it wasn't quite as neat as I wanted, because I think I was going to do like a colourful one with Copic markers, but then when it wasn't quite as neat as I expected, yeah, the lines won't be as crisp as I would want if I'm colouring it, using colours to colour it in. So I decided, oh, okay, I'll just make this one with abstract shapes inside in more detail as opposed to just the colours, and I'm so happy with how it turned out. I don't remember why I was doubting this artwork, but it just, I don't know, I really like the shape. I really like what kind of thing happened, because I think it's got a good combination of like organic shapes with a bit more kind of like those bits have angles and edges, whereas if it's a completely swirly shape, it's more soft on the outside. So I think that was a really good combination of the two. As you can see, lots of lines, and you draw one shape and then you do lines that mimic that shape going in. And then maybe I should do some videos on like how I draw these specific patterns. Just talking my way through an artwork, that could be fun. And then some little swirls in there and some dots. Oh yeah, that's a fun thing. So say you've done an artwork but you want to like kind of emphasize some shape a bit more, you can do dots going along the edge of it, and I think it looks really neat. I think it looks really fun, and I did some little triangles going off of there. So that was a really good time. I'm so happy with how this one turned out, actually. So here I kind of did the same like mirroring thing as I did with the yellow and the orange artwork. So I did this one first with my Copic markers and my Uniball Gel Impact. I like how it has a kind of like watery flow vibe, just with the curves and all that. Lots of fun. And then I went in over the markers, over the Copic markers, to do these little shapes, so the line and then the 3 dots, which I think adds a bit of flavor. Really fun. I'm so happy with like just nice colors. I love nice colors. I think our world is full of so many nice colors, and we're so lucky to be able to see so many colors. So the colors I used for this are aqua, teal blue, Nile blue, dark blue, and mint green. You can check out those names in the description below for this artwork. And then for this one, I used my Uniball Gel Impact. I don't think I went in with a pencil underneath. I think I just freehanded it. Yeah, lots of lines going next to each other, and some thicker lines going next to each other. I usually do the big shapes first, so I would do like a larger, so this swirly bit, I would do that whole shape before doing the bits that go inside it. So that's kind of my typical way of doing things, and just then it's about like filling in those individual shapes. With this drawing, I did it on a blue piece of paper, and I honestly wasn't sure how it was going to turn out, because I didn't do as many, like, okay, so for me, I usually do like big lines, big shapes, and then small shapes within. And I have more of a variety of like the density of the lines, whereas here I later added in these thicker lines, but I kind of, everything's quite like evenly spaced in comparison. I don't know how to explain this, but like say with this one, I've got a variety of like, these are spaced thicker apart than these lines here. And I feel like that thickness, that variety of thicknesses adds, like it looks better. It looks more full and rich. And in this one, I don't have that as much. So I was like pretty discouraged when doing it. I was like, oh, okay, it's not quite how I wanted it to be. Oh, actually though, the column drawing I did earlier in the book kind of has a similar thing, but I feel for some reason that the column one like works. Like see, these are kind of like, it doesn't have the more dense parts and then less dense parts. It's all quite like homogeneous in terms of its density, but for some reason I feel like it works here, but I wasn't feeling like it was working here until I went back and I added in some colors with my Pigma Micron, with my Copic markers. And then I used some colored pencils to do this blue bit. Looking back, I would probably have just stuck to the markers because I don't think the colored pencil adds that much in this case. So I'd probably pick one or the other. And it's very subtle. It's probably more subtle than I would have liked it to be, but I actually colored in this outside bit, like that bit's colored in with a gray color, I think. So it made it a little bit darker. So this color is actually lighter than this color. I'll point with my pen as opposed to so this color is lighter than this color. Which kind of makes the middle pop, but I don't even know if it's showing up on camera. It's not as big a contrast as I would like, but I think it has made a difference. And also adding in the thick lines has made a difference. So if you're not sure, if you're feeling like your abstract artworks aren't showing up the way you would want them to, then maybe consider adding different thicknesses of lines. So back when I was using Pigma Micron pens more than the Uniball Gel Impact pens, so I was using those felt tips, it's nice to add up like different thicknesses of pens. Sometimes people find that useful, so you can get the 0.8, the 0.5, the 0.1 and do that, or you can just use one pen the whole time, but make some lines closer together than other lines for more contrast. I hope that makes sense. I think it's a little bit tricky to explain, but I'm happy with how this turned out. I think it's nice that it's different and it's something that's stuck in with a different colored background, because I haven't got that on the other pages of the book. So nice contrast. I like the paper, and I think it'll be fun to do more drawings on colored paper in the future. This artwork, I did the outline with the classic Uniball Gel Impact, and I don't think I did a pencil sketch or anything like that. And then I wanted to give it kind of a fire like color palette. So I used the colors golden yellow, chrome orange, cadmium red, special black and Chinese orange. And then I did my little signature on the side and just added a bit of yellow on there to keep the color scheme going. I used my Uniball Gel Impact, drew lots of swirls, did repetitive patterns. I started at the middle here and then worked my way outwards. And I did a kind of diamondy oval shape. And then I'd done this one first, and I kind of wanted to mimic the color scheme a little bit without fully going into it. So obviously it's not the exact same color scheme because that's got the pink and this has the purple, but a lot of the greeny blues are overlapping. I used dial blue, aqua, mint green, teal blue, dark blue, and then the bright color is the violet. Then once again, in my signature, I just wanted to keep the color going a little bit, so I did lilac, around the edges. So for this one, it's the same vibe of using the Uniball Gel Impact, but the overall shape is a little bit different, and I did some lines a bit closer together. So you can see that in here there's a bit more diversity in how close the lines are together. So here, that line and that line are very close, whereas in this drawing you don't have any lines that are that close together. And I quite like the intricacy of it in comparison, but I think both are fun effects that you can do on different days that you're feeling. So I wanted to do mostly kind of bluey greens and then just add the pink to like add that dash of color, of brightness that can make it stand out. So I used these colors of my Copic markers: ultramarine, dog rose flower, malachite, mint green, dark blue, teal blue, Nile blue, and aqua. So those are all listed in the description below. Yeah, and then it was also really fun to add these teardrop shapes in there. For this artwork on the left, I chose to do a diamond shape in a kind of square form, which was fun, and I wanted to do like the two halves coming together and colliding a little bit, which is why the right side of that artwork of the diamond looks different than the left side slightly in their color schemes. So on the right side, with my Gansai Tambi water paints, Starry colors, you can look at that in the description below if you want to know the product. I used yellow gold on the left hand side and champagne gold on the right hand side, so that's what the sparkly bits are. And then for the Copic markers on the right hand side, I used dog rose flower, lilac and light pink, and on the left hand side I used blue, violet, mallow and violet. For this one I used my Copic markers and my Uniball Gel Impact pen, this first as usual, and I knew I wanted to do like kind of give the vibe of flower petals, and I liked the pink and purple theme. I used my Copic marker colours of lilac and this bright pink one, dog rose flower, and then I also used light pink, and light pink is like this background bit, so you might think that doesn't have any colour in it, but it's actually got a light pink, so it's a bit darker than the white background over here. I think, see, this is what I mean about how like repetition can actually be super beautiful. So if you repeat the same pattern, it can really make something very beautiful, and it's so meditative. Like if you want to find a way to relax and drawing is your way to relax, it's not about the end product all the time. It can also just be about enjoying the experience, and I definitely take that to heart because I'm not a professional artist or anything. It's purely for the joy of it, you know. I think that it's so awesome when you can go into that state of flow and just fully relax. Okay, my last drawing. So this one I did last page, end of the year is Christmas, right? And we're in November, but I wanted to do like a Christmas themed coloring page, and I wanted to get it kind of going early so that in December, when like kids and stuff are getting ready, excited for Christmas, they're able to color it in. So I'm gonna upload that as a PDF online, just a black and white version of this, so you can just download it for free. The link to that's in the description. I would be so like flattered if someone ends up coloring in my art. I think it would be really fun and like add to the community we've got going here and all the nice people I've been able to chat to online and in the comments. So if you end up following that link, downloading the PDF and printing it out and coloring it in, send me a message on my art Instagram and I'll be able to see it. That would be really cool. So Christmas themes, I did the black and white first with I used a pencil to sketch it out, and then my Uniball Gel Impact pen, and then I chose kind of Christmassy colours, so red and green, and then I also wanted to add in some pink and some brown for like the gingerbread man and the gingerbread house and, you know, some other bits and bobs around. Then I love this. So basically, ever since my grandma got me this set, for a while I didn't use it. I just never got around to trying it out. And then when I did, I like have been obsessed with it since. I really like it. So for here, I think I used just the yellow gold. So I really need to get out and experiment with these colors because so far I've only used these 3 colors. So I'll definitely try these 3 colors in my next sketchbook. So yeah, I just picked a bunch of different Christmassy things. Got some love hearts, got some candy canes, some stars, some gingerbread people, a gingerbread house, some decorations, some music notes because of Christmas carols, some stars. That was a lot of fun. This is my full completed sketchbook. Thank you for watching bits and bobs or all of this video if you ended up doing that, and I'm really glad I can, share my art with you. So now I'm on to my next sketchbook. So I got the same type, but I got a pink coloured one. So I only just started it the other day. So it's blank, and then I've got a couple that I've just started out, and it'll be cool to add another one into my little collection of artworks. And what I'm enjoying about using a sketchbook is that I don't have loose artworks everywhere as much. I still have some, obviously, but it's nice having it kind of in one place, and then you can flip through and just really appreciate how you've been, just appreciate your process and how far you've come and the beautiful things that you've been creating and the not so beautiful things, and I think it just holds a lot of memories. Thank you for watching this video. My name's Hannah, and Shadows Exhibit is my collection of artworks. If you want me to see your art, then you can tag me at shadows.exhibit on Instagram and use the hashtag #sharewithshadows, and I'll be able to look at your artworks. I'll see you next time.